One of Canada's largest banks said recently the federal government not doing enough to combat inflation. The consumer price index rose again in May, bringing inflation, as we learned yesterday, to a nearly 40-year high. It's sitting at 7.7%. A new report from Scotiabank contends, quote, "It is fair to say that fiscal policy authorities in Canada are doing nothing of any significance to slow inflation at the moment." So with us this morning is economist and professor at Concordia University, Moshe Lander. Welcome to your morning.
Good morning.
When looking at the consumer price index, let's start there. Prices are up across the board, but one really stands out among the rest, and that is gas prices. They are almost double what they were this time last year. They're up 48%. This, of course, driven mostly by the increase in global competition because of the Russian oil supply, dwindling oil supply there. What policy options exist then for the federal and provincial governments to bring down gas prices?
So they can't really bring down gas prices. They can suspend some of the taxes that are included in the gas price. But as you said, as you're leading at the top of the hour, that's really not going to affect inflation all that much. It's a nice visual for Canadian consumers, but it's not going to do much. And the problem with it is that it kind of contradicts the government's policy on the environment. So I don't know that that's exactly the solution that's going to solve the inflation problem.
Okay, let's take a look at another point. Another major component driving inflation is the constant increase in housing prices. Just to remind everybody, they are up more than 7% compared to this time last year. They have remained stable since April. Are there options for policy action at any level of government that could have an effect?
Yes, but it's not going to do anything in the short term. I hate to be a downer in the morning here, but look, housing is a municipal issue. And so the biggest issue that municipalities create is restrictive zoning laws. So if they want to loosen up the zoning laws and try and encourage home building, they can certainly do that. But the thing is that even if they were to relax all of the zoning laws this morning, it's still going to take time before shovels get in the ground and high-rise condos appear in Canadian cities. So probably by the time that those things actually get built and help alleviate some of the housing shortage issues, inflation is probably going to be a thing of the past.
So no short-term fix in gas, no short-term fix in housing. Let's try another one. A major focal point, in fact, of the Scotiabank report was the federal government's reluctance to curb spending. They went on to say lower government spending on goods and services could help lower inflation. It is thus possible to shift some of the burden of adjustment away from the private sector and onto the government with better coordination between monetary and fiscal authorities. So why does it appear the government won't reduce spending if it could help temper inflation?
Can you imagine the Prime Minister coming in front of an open mic this morning and saying to Canadians that I understand that you guys are suffering right now, here's the solution, we're not spending? It is the correct policy. Any intro macroeconomics student would say, yeah, that's what you do in these times of inflation, is that the government needs to cut spending and even go so far as to raise taxes. But I think that's political suicide if you're going to try and make that sort of argument. People won't hear it as being the correct solution. I think what people want right now is governments to put money in their pockets to help with the rising gasoline prices, with the rising rents and housing costs. And so the idea of taking the exact opposite policy, even though it's the correct one, would be really politically unpopular.
In the short term, then, what are people supposed to do? They feel like they're spending more, they're getting less, and they don't see an end in sight.
So the end in sight will come. The Bank of Canada has an unlimited amount of space to increase interest rates, much as we won't like that. But the fact is that they will keep increasing interest rates till inflation comes back down to where it was. It might take 6 months. But in the meantime, the worst thing that we can do at this point is race into the boss and demand 7.7% raises. All that's going to do is just lead to another round of increasing prices. And it means the Bank of Canada is going to have to work that much harder to bring inflation back down. So the best thing that we can do at this point, much as it's terrible to hear, is we just have to sit and deal with this and just find a way to get through it. If we could get through COVID, we can get through a 1 year rough inflation patch.
And that's the timeline, around 1 year. Buckle down, everybody.
Interest rates usually take about 6 months. So yeah, about a year, sorry.
Okay, it's good to have a time frame on that. Moshe, thanks so much.
Anytime.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.